test. Okay. I think my audio is working. No? Not sure. Okay, cool. How you guys doing? No, I'm unmuted on YouTube. It's working. What's up, Borkin? Just kind of gonna let everybody filter in for a minute here, because we're a little late. Something came up. Had a tiny bit of an emergency. What's up, Dork?
Yo. I was able to eat dinner tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I thought you wanted it earlier, not later.
Either or.
Hmm.
Like, I start making dinner at like 5:45 to 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know. I was going to look at something.
No audio on Discord?
What? On Disc? That's a weird one. Discord should have all audio.
Okay.
Hey, Atomic's in here. Hey, Atomic, fast is good now. I know you were extremely concerned. I like how you can't talk back to me right now. That's great.
Atomic was really worried about Fastenal stock. Just so everyone knows. If you guys have any questions about Fastenal, feel free to direct them at Atomic. You can find him in the Fubo chat.
Where's Jay Fresh? Is he getting his other eye stapled shut?
I don't know. I assume that he's just naked in front of a mirror in his house, furiously masturbating while crying and saying you are beautiful.
One of his hands is slowly rubbing circles on his gut.
I love that we have these things recorded.
It's terrible, dude. Like 25 years from now, like we're gonna be listening to this in a courtroom. It's gonna be awful. And we're just gonna have to sit there the whole time with a bunch of serious people listening to it. It's okay though, you know, congressional testimonies. What are you gonna do?
You're talking to no one. JFresh isn't even here, Corey.
He's not listening, Core. I would know.
Can you sense it?
Right. Maybe JFresh senses it that we mentioned him.
Hmm. Like a hot ear?
Right. Like, or like someone staring at you.
Oh, I'm gonna do.
You just know it.
I'm gonna do an experiment on social media, and I want you to. You're gonna need to help me.
Okay.
but it's gonna be really fun.
Ooh, sweet. Are we finally doing porn?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Shit, what are you thinking of?
That was less pornography based.
Well, then what is it? What else could it be?
It's got to be a secret. It's gonna. Me and you haven't had a secret in a long time, and this is gonna be our next
True,
big
huh?
secret.
Okay, and we're just announcing publicly that we have a secret, and I
Yeah.
don't even know what it is yet.
Mm-hmm.
This is weird.
This is what we've done with all of our secrets.
That's kind of true.
See, even Jen Jen's like, I hate it when you do this. Is it the secret? Who's the bottom?
That's no secret.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's both. We are getting rid of libraries.
Yeah, fuck libraries.
No.
We don't need them.
All you need is the
Why would I
docs.
want a library? I just tell the AI to write me a book.
No.
Jen is so pissed. Ah. Sorry, Jen. I'll stop with my sacrilegious behavior.
No, he's not really sorry.
No. It was kind of funny, which means that I can't be sorry. Cornub's over here trying to do the million monkeys with typewriters, but million monkeys with ChatGPT.
Do you want to make a Dork? Do you want to make a $10 bet that at some point over the next 3 years, the current administration publicly televises a book burning?
Ooh. Wait, like the administration themselves? Or like they sanction one?
Yeah, like they have a book burning at the White House.
I mean, I don't know if I want to bet on that as much as I want to bet on which books they burn.
That's too tough.
Like modern history books? Is that what we're going after?
No, that's not that's not where it'll start.
Harry Potter?
Maybe. Oh wait,
Yeah, I'll bet you $10 that they don't.
I thought J.K. Rowling went like right wing after she made Dumbledore arbitrarily gay.
Yeah. Well, no. I don't know. She did something. Made everybody mad at her.
Yeah, that's what she did. She doesn't
Okay.
like trans people.
That's too bad.
Yeah. She's
I must say the most like chill fun times I've had have been at gay bars, not gonna lie. Like gay people are just super chill.
they're pretty awesome places. I've been to quite a few.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's a few decent ones in Reno.
Also, as a guy, someone buys you drinks.
Yeah, right?
And that's, yeah, like, even if you're not interested, it's cool to feel wanted.
Yeah. Well, is anybody going to ask a question? Or were they just sitting here waiting for us to...
I mean, they're probably
Say
waiting
some
for the
humiliating
other host that's supposed to be here.
Who's that?
The cat?
Oh, yeah.
Just that guy
I
we've
was like,
done
other
all
host?
these
Who's
with.
the other host? You mean J-Fresh? I always forget that we are kind of like hosts. It's weird.
Oh, did Dork load the new scanner into prod, or is it only available for the beta boys?
Me? You mean Nuke?
Yeah, Nuke.
Nuke. He loaded up a scanner for the beta boys.
Hmm.
So they get to go nuts. And make sure you direct all your complaints to JFresh.
Oh, we have a question.
What?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Should you give head when a guy buys you a drink, even if you're not gay? And does that make you gay? It depends. Is he your bro?
Yeah. First question.
You need to be more specific. If he's your bro and he doesn't come in your mouth, then it's not gay.
Yeah. I think I agree with that.
Why has nobody opened a gay bar inside the library? Because Jen kicks them out before he gets that far.
There's some gay library bars. That's kind of a thing.
Max Spires says that's not how that works.
But they do have bookshops, libraries, and coffee shops all together. So, you know, if you're into books, you just have coffee instead of alcohol. I don't see the big deal in that. Only problem is it's kind of difficult to hit on people, I would imagine, at a coffee shop, because most of them are so engrossed in their books and other intellectual things that they're pursuing in this coffee shop.
Now, why would I do that? Because they smoked a bunch of crack and started fucking in the bathroom? I've been to libraries. I know what goes on there.
You've been to New York libraries. There's some libraries that are normal.
She's like somewhere in the vicinity of Chicago.
Oh, geez, yeah. That's okay.
You don't think they have crack in Chicago?
I think they have a lot of crack in Chicago.
Do you think they don't have gays in Chicago, Dork?
I think there's a few.
Okay. That came.
Gotta imagine there's some.
That was close.
I mean, I don't know. Illinois is just kind of gnarly.
It's true.
I've only ever really been in Chicago in the airport. Like for like a connecting flight or something.
Can I add someone to the stage if we don't get volunteers? I think so.
Just arbitrarily add somebody?
Can we?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It's a person.
Or we could have Saber come up here because they raised their hand and they have a question.
I invited him up.
If this question is about dork chops, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Answer it.
I'm using my phone.
Oh, you know what? He's got to turn crisp off.
Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You have to turn off crisp.
So,
Yeah,
so
crisp sucks on a phone.
the hell is crisp?
Crisp is the noise cancellation shit. So you go to the bottom of the chat and then slide that little box that says, like, has the mute button and everything up. And it'll bring up the settings. And in those settings, turn off crisp.
Oh.
Warning, we will be able to hear you masturbating in the background after you do that. But it's fine. We're not going to judge you.
How do I
Oh,
sound?
now you sound good.
That's way
You
better.
sound great.
right, cool. So my question is about Vega neutral in relation to equities. So you said in the documentation, indexes are usually below Vega neutral, so it's easier to sell on them, right? But for equities, how does that work? Is Vega neutral is usually what below the equity, or how does that work for volatility in regards to shorting the vol on equities?
So generally on equities, the MM is long Vega.
Okay.
So hold on, let me
So
pull something up. Oh. So like here on Apple, you can see that the market maker is positively exposed to Vega. And the reason behind that is that on equities, volatility is inverse the effects of volatility on indexes. Not that volatility can't go up on a drop or down on a move up, it can, but it's less likely. Also on equities,
so
people are usually selling calls on positions they own. And on indexes, when they're bullish, they're selling puts.
okay, so how does that affect the MM's behavior if, say, there's a cross of Vega neutral?
George?
Wait, say that again.
How does
I was
that?
screenshotting something.
How does being above or below Vega neutral affect the MM's hedging activities? Like, which way do they hedge if spot is above Vega neutral on an equity?
So, so first we have to kind of talk about Vega.
Yeah, we do.
So Vega is the rate of change of an option price with respect to a change in volatility. So with Vega neutral, what you're really seeing is sort of a like inverse correlation, right? So or a correlation factor, right? In terms of it doesn't really have much to do with stock price so much as it has to do with option volatility. So when you are above Vega neutral, right, the market maker has a positive Vega exposure, we assume.
So they want to be long vol at that.
Well, that means that the market maker is short vol, right? So
okay,
because yeah, the
short
assumed.
vol.
Sorry, go ahead.
You're saying short vol is in they're short the equity because if they're short vol, they want the price to go down, right?
Well, they're short the volatility exposure, like the Vega exposure. So yeah, in a way, they're short. They're short the rate of change of the contract value with respect to IV. So if the distribution widens out, right, that's what their exposure is to. So what this really kind of explains too is sort of it's basically like delta.
It's a lot like Delta.
Well, it's as the volatility smile like widens, right, or as the gamma little nipple thing widens, the delta on those contracts will necessarily go up or down, right? So, and this sort of describes how the S curve on delta kind of changes.
So,
but if the
you
whole
look
entire
at
IV curve goes up, it would be bullish if we're above VN, to put it more succinctly.
Can you pull up CRL on your screen and see what I'm seeing?
Got it.
Because it's above every single neutral, and
Ooh.
I'm having a hard time trying to figure out like which way price Go.
Did this have like a
Okay,
something happened
So
here?
this thing doesn't have a ton of OI. First off,
Oh, is that why?
that's a factor you always have to consider. It looks like there was some increase in options interest after what I assume was earnings on April 10th. Was that an earnings? Maybe, I don't know, some news, something like that.
There's a decent amount of delta on the chain. It's not horrible.
Yeah, it's not amazing either though.
Yeah, but it's got a 6 billion market cap.
Oh, so when they dropped 30%, right? Which I would assume was on some news. I don't know what it was, April 10th. So was that?
It was like the market crash, I
No.
think.
It was right after it.
That was.
Oh, you're cutting out there, Saber.
Some drug company. Yeah, so I feel like what happened was people probably sold
After
a
they
shit ton of
pulled back
puts
on
on it or
the
something. Like if you look at the way that the neutrals moved, right? Yeah, Vega neutral fell off a cliff. So,
Look at the jump in total delta after the drop. Like, it looks like buyers came in, like, real hard.
yeah, it's a 100% move. Yeah, the interest nearly doubled. So yeah, I would assume this has a lot to do with like buy rights and stuff. Like that's the only thing that makes sense to me that would cause something like that.
So, my thing is like I'm having a hard time conceptualizing how. Like you see how everything's trending up, but I don't know if that's like in the money calls being opened or in the money puts being opened, because obviously you have delta and skew adjusted gamma
So
falling.
everything's
a
pinned
little
to the
bit.
120 strike, because the OI there is, like, almost all the OI on the chain.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what you're seeing. Like Dork said, this one's, like, really illiquid. And there's not a lot of OI on this chain. It's decent for...
The volume today on it was like the highest volume strikes were a couple of put strikes at 10 volume. So it's not exactly people going crazy on this thing right now.
okay.
Yeah,
But yeah,
so
this
is
is trying to figure it out.
no, yeah, this brings up a good point, right? And I think something we I don't know if we talk about it enough, but with certain equities in particular, right, they have pretty sparse chains, and my tolerance for these small chained equities has gently increased over time. Don't tell JFresh. I know he's here raising his hand, but nobody tell him. So, but so when you get these small equities like this, their options markets have less and less of a significant sort of effect on the volatility that the stock will end up realizing. So that's just something to keep in mind, and that by in effect, the neutrals also, lose their sort of luster, I guess you would say, in that they're very small sort of ebbs and flows and the delta hedge and all that stuff, relatively speaking.
Yeah, it looks like the stock's going to 145.
I can't fucking tell because I don't know which way anything's gonna go with the way all.
It doesn't matter. Just
weird.
You're the only
it popped
person.
up on the G.
You're the only person who has options on it. So just if you keep buying the 145, it'll get there eventually.
Yeah, you just buy enough of them.
It's like pump it up.
You just gotta have more of those than the 120 calls.
We call that sailoring.
In that same token, if you look at place, PLCE,
was that token? That was a pun, right? Sorry. Okay, PLCE, I'm on it.
Oh, even fewer options. Awesome.
Yeah, this has even less
there's
delta. This has even less delta.
If you look at the curve, it looks like it can fucking squeeze, right? Is that, or am I fucking crazy?
You might be, because all of the options chain might be owned by one person.
This has a
It might
decent
be a
amount of
Discord
OI.
group.
This looks like it's gonna stay at $6 forever.
It's just, yeah, there's just a ton of, yeah.
The whole-
there's so
the whole
there's
curve
so
is
much gamma
green.
at 8 or at
Yeah, I don't
6,
know.
yeah.
I'm looking at all these and I'm trying to figure out like a potential play, but you know, it's like if you look
Well,
at
the play
curve,
would be,
you look at what would the
Look-
play be?
so yeah, look at the Greek spy striker, go to Vega.
Because
What does
IV's
that tell you?
sort of cheap on it.
I mean, it's really fun if
right,
it can
yeah.
go above 6.
Yeah, if you go above 6 and it picks up volatility, this thing could go to $10. That's
Yeah.
what this is saying.
I feel like you can go to 15.
No, I don't know about that. Let's see what the OI
Man,
looks like out there. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think 10 is the ceiling. But is it going to go up? I mean, I don't know. This thing's just trading around whatever that is. So
What's going on with the volatility? Oh, what a fucking mess.
Because it's terrible.
So you want to just go in there and fight
IV's
against
kinda
Kenny?
cheap on it.
Nope. IV is extraordinarily expensive.
yeah.
I'm looking at it wrong.
You got it backwards.
That's why
Yeah.
the Vega exposure on $10 was through the fucking roof too.
10-day vol isn't as bad, but still not great.
So what you're saying is you should be buying weeklies on this.
I'm not gonna say that though, because
It's
this
starting to
it
feel a
has
little
it has I don't want him to go out and be the 4 open interest on the weekly contract. He could lose
Excuse me,
20s of dollars.
He will be, if he gets 4 of them, he will be approximately, I think, 1/5 of the OI, the $9 strike for the weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a shit ton of $6 calls.
think it's a good
Like,
chance
yeah,
to
this is.
So we do
So
intend to add
Friday.
we do intend to add some ranking to these, and you know, obviously some of the scanners are still being worked on, but probably some sort of bottom line filter that gets rid of stocks like those two.
So one thing I'm going to mention too, Gherk, if you go back to Greek Spy Strike.
Ooh,
there's one
VIX.
more thing on this. So
Ooh, TA on the
if
VIX.
if you click on OI, yeah, I know Jay Fresh just did T on the VIX again. Click on the $6 strike and show the OI by expiry. So there's a ton of OI at the $6 strike falling off in, less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the support is going to get better?
Well,
That
look at
means
everything
maybe,
else
but I
is
don't
like
think
all
so.
these other calls are like sold out in June.
Yeah. So, it
So-
doesn't exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like all of that gamma falling off is maybe bullish.
You think so?
I mean, like the neutrals can move up.
That's true. Yeah, you do kind of lose that damping force. Yeah, maybe
Isn't
it
it-
could go up to 7.
NPR is not prod updating right now.
God, I really don't.
No, it failed because I that's why I was taking screenshots. I got this.
Yeah, I mean, this could go up, but don't take that as like a buy signal. Dear God.
Yeah, this thing is very ambiguous. Like it could meander up after the expiry.
This begs the question: why are we capturing this data?
But I don't know.
What was that?
You're breaking up.
Because it's spicy. Oh, my
Oh,
fucking internet's shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, spicy. Yeah, it
Spicy.
is.
Love Gamma Max.
I mean, Nuke went like full port BTU when it was at like $7. That was spicy. And at Gamma Max. Still am.
Just,
Let's
trying to
fucking
figure out
go.
trying to figure out like what would a squeeze play look like on Gammastrike? You know, like would it be above the neutrals? Would it be above Vega neutral, spot price, and stuff like that? For
I mean,
like
most
losing
equities,
value?
most
Pull
equities,
up GME.
you're gonna be above Vega neutral.
GME had a little squeezy, didn't it? We could
Yeah,
look at
recently.
GME neutrals, and you could pretty much look at it like on the neutrals at least. It looks like it blasts through everything and just launches up.
Yeah, and then immediately died. I shorted that, by the way.
That's pretty much what a squeeze is.
It felt
It
good.
goes up a bunch and then it dies.
Oh. Remember the FSLR cock racket? Yes, yes, I do.
Right. So you could see. So I guess the one big tell, if we look at like the 2024 April craziness, the one tell was that delta exposure went from 165 million to 500 million over the course of like 5 days.
On what?
That's a pretty big tell. Go back to June 24 or April 24 on GME.
Oh, right here, like where
Yeah.
Delta starts ramping up. Yeah.
No, last year.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah,
back
right-
here?
right there,
Yeah.
you see where delta starts picking up significantly. That is like the tell that there's a lot of interest, and then it pops off.
This is the day DFE bought in, though. It was like the 10th. That's why it popped off. Otherwise, it would have just
My birthday.
collapsed.
Yeah,
You bought in on that day because it was your birthday.
yeah.
Now
Pretty
you've
much it.
doxed yourself to everyone here. All 30 people now.
They know my birthday.
They also know that you're 22.
Was that skew adjusted? Was that skew adjusted delta you're saying exploded or
No, just total delta.
Oh, okay.
See.
Yeah.
Big boom. This seems to be mostly gamma driven right now. I mean, there's a decent amount of delta, but a lot of gamma.
what is
Gamma's
the-
really high on GME right now.
Is there like a certain time frame for when delta explodes before price action starts picking up, or you just have to watch for technicals and breakouts?
No, but like if you look back at GME, then right, delta was at like on May 1st, delta was at 166.42 million. And before DFE had bought in on May 10th, it was already 4 times that almost. On May 9th, it hit 616 million. And so that's a lot of delta in a very short period of time. That's
a lot.
that could
That's,
be
you were spiced up over a doubling in delta exposure. That was a 5x.
yeah.
Like
Good thing we have a
that's
scanner.
spicy. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just I mean, look at more stuff, right? Don't throw all your eggs in a basket because you see a pattern. You know, try to really suss things out. You know, notice how I went to the Greek spy strike and was like, okay, it's there, but what's it doing?
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, this gives you a very good like macro overview, but it's always good to dig like a layer deeper and take a look at like we know gamma's really high. Why is gamma really high? Well, it's all fucking out of the money shit. That's probably mostly expiring this week because everyone's got a boner because Cohen bought some Bitcoin, right? And so when all that gamma falls off, it opens up more room to the downside.
I
DFB,
hate this
thank you for your
timeline.
contribution.
Everybody's got a boner because Cohen bought some Bitcoin.
I know. I know. This is what we live with.
And then another question I had
Yeah.
too, when we are, I was mentioning it earlier in chat. When we are above gamma neutral, but below the flips on the 0 DTE, how does the market maker react? So say like there's multiple market makers on SPX, right?
Yeah.
But for the 0 DTE market maker, their infinite gamma potential kind of outweighs and outperforms the longer dated positioning on the SPX, which I would feel like is more substantial. Like you said it earlier, it was like more delta driven, or the delta drives you to your targets, like your price points or your supports and resistances or stuff. But it's like, why is the 0 DTE so prevalent in stopping price action? Like, you think it's going to break down to the next level and they just stop it.
Because
Did we?
almost half the options on the 0 DT, like almost half of the options on SPX are on the 0 DTE chain.
No, it's like 90% of the
Yeah.
volume.
Well,
Okay.
look at like.
90%
I
of
forgot
the
it's
daily
gone up.
volume.
I mean, if you look at the SPX chain and you look where like price got hung up, right? Like there's supportive gamma on SPX down at like 75.80, which is what I called for like the earlier price target. And then, that shifted up and then we got stuck like right where all the gamma is on the SPX chain. And the SPXW chain really didn't have much going on there. That was kind of like 59.05 was kind of like the in-between point, if you remember. Like you can't look at it now, but it was kind of like I could probably draw it pretty easily. It was just kind of like we had all the negative gamma down here, and then like 59.05 was there, and then like gamma went up to the upside up here. And we just kept getting stuck on that like slightly positive gamma at 59.05. But the reason was like the support over on the SPX chain. Like all of the big positioning at 5900 is why we keep getting pinned to it.
Yeah, I mean the market's been mostly dead for this week.
So the advantage of gamma is that like the short dated options is that they can kind of control price action in the intraday by moving really large volumes of gamma around. But those bigger positions can still just blow all that shit up. And you'll see it happen.
I mean,
like you'll see like a big position move in on SPX and it'll just fucking destroy the whole spot market.
Yeah, for like the entire day.
Yeah.
And it just never recovers because the SPX is just sitting there.
I mean, we had that happen at Open the last 2 days with like positioning at 6,000. Like Bears just sold fuck tons of calls up there. And it just crushed the price. And like we both days we fell right back down to like 5,900 and just got stuck.
Yeah, I mean right now 6,000 is pretty.
What's that?
That was on longer dated strikes that you can't really see coming in unless you have like
you
special scan.
You can. We have this. So you still have 0 DTE for the AM contract that you can watch, like live data for the AM contract. And then, you can go.
Well, it's not 0 DT, but what it is it's the next available contract. So, and we're working on expanding that to all contracts. It's just it's a huge data pipe to manage all those messages. But yeah, so for the SPX, it will default to the next open contract, which right now is the June monthly. Is that right?
No, it's. I think it's May. I think it's.
Yeah.
Wait, no, you're right. It is June. Yeah, you're right. I can't do math.
How do you determine which chain will have more influence at any point? Well, the beauty of the SPX chain is generally the interest on it is very spread out. So it's really only relevant when you're trading near major strikes. Like 5900, 50s, like the aughts and 50s. Sometimes you'll get like a big spike of interest around one of like the 75s or 25s, but pretty rarely. And so anytime you're trading in between those ranges, you don't really need to take too much consideration of the monthly contract. But you do need to know that it's going to come into play big time on any like 50 or 100 test. I mean, look at 6,000. This is 700,000 contracts on either side. These are not short dated, right? Like not all of them. Some of them expire next Friday. But then, there's another 150,000 contracts out in September. There's 100,000 contracts out in December. Versus, and the deltas here are far larger. But like if you look at the SPXW, did that not change? Oh, okay. You know, very, very different. Like much more filled out on the 25 strikes, on the 75 strikes. A lot more gamma, right? There's gamma everywhere on the weekly contract. Even if you look at it over the same period, like if we go look at that same date as the AM expiration. So, all of the shorter dated positioning tends to drive a lot of the intraday price action while trading. Unless you're at a major support or resistance.
Would that be the same for equities, like say Tesla or something that's like a lot of options gamma driven? The next up weekly contract will outweigh the rest of the chain.
The gamma on the weekly, yeah, the gamma on the weekly will.
Yeah.
So how do participants react to that? Like, say there's a lot of OI at say Tesla 400 on the weekly. Are they going to push for that? And then at that point, do they close out, or like how does it work in comparison to the longer dated contracts? Because
generally, like shorter dated stuff, the moves are short lived. So if you get like a massive rapid pump and it's all on really short dated contracts, much like the index, those contracts are incentivized to take a profit. And when they do, you tend to get some mean reversion. Maybe not the entirety of the move, but some of it. And then you'll get repositioning as it mean reverts, and that'll generally like find a new range, and you'll either stabilize or fail. And
would it stabilize around like a heavy delta inflection point? You would think, right?
Generally, yeah. Price likes to end, like market makers like to be kind of flat on delta, and so they do enjoy kind of hedging. Like over time, their hedge is going to push spot back towards where there are large piles of delta.
Got it. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
A couple questions for me.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem.
Good questions.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out, man. Oh. We got need to. Give me a second, because I got a couple of questions on the YouTube. Do you have a specific time you like to trade after hours Pacific? No. I mean, I don't live in that time zone. I live on the East Coast, but I don't know. Futures, like, I'll pretty much trade them at any time of the night. They're more active from like, I guess it would be like 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. your time. and then before market open, like 3 hours before market open, when like the EU session starts up. Well, 5 hours before market open. And then, okay, now it's just people asking questions about GME. Okay. What's up, Nitu? How you doing,
Hey
man?
guys, I noticed the Gammastrike is put its fancy makeup on, like it's going on a date or something. It looks pretty.
Oh, you noticed some of the
Yeah,
changes? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we're making these weren't I didn't even know you guys were gonna get these. But I
Yeah.
guess they're out. They're out there in the wild now.
She's a beaut.
Yeah, just making
Um,
some visual changes, trying to make things look a little better and less like still visually intriguing, but not to overdo it too much and create a lot of eye strain for people who are using the tool all the time. It's a weird balance.
yeah, yeah. I especially like this new purple on the Delta.
Yeah, yeah.
It's called Grimace.
It's called Grimace,
Mm.
and it's yeah.
Oh no, no,
No,
wait,
no,
hold
that's
on.
not Grimace. Grimace is
Net.
That's
Yeah,
Grimace.
down there.
Yeah,
Mm.
Slightly different.
it is slightly
Well,
different.
possibly. I'm a fan. I also like the McDonald's reference. With the new tool, the OI scanner. I haven't gotten a chance to really play around with it. You mind kind of giving us a
Well,
quick little
we
overview?
don't have access to the beta version, which is on prod, and non-prod shit the bed, so it's all fucked up on non-prod right now.
I do.
Gherk's
You
got
have-
it.
Way to
you
out
have
me,
access to
JFresh.
it?
Jeez.
I got it right here.
Oh, you're talking about this.
Yeah. No, you need to shut up. God.
Why don't you shut the fuck up, JFresh?
Yeah,
Why don't you
man.
Shut up.
Yeah, I
You're
got a
talking
copy
about
of it.
other things that don't exist.
Oh yeah, right.
Are we already to the
Leaking
gaslighting
IP
portion of
left
the stream? I
and
love
right.
this.
Working with JFresh, like I can't imagine. It blows my mind that JFresh does work with like DARPA and shit. And he has security clearance because it's like working with a colander.
Yeah, but none of this stuff is. I thought it was already deployed to the beta boys.
No.
Nope.
No, we just got this like a couple days ago.
Yeah, this is the. I mean, we kind of did. You might have missed it, but we did a review of this last week when we released it to the beta users.
Mm. I see.
I
I'm
think
going
it was
back
like,
and
hey,
reading
look
the
at this.
message, and it does say OI Scanner was released to beta boys and prod.
Yeah.
I read what I wanted to read.
But I mean, I don't mind going over it again. Basically, this allows you to sort chains by the minimum total OI. So you can look at stocks that have a lot of OI, a million plus contracts. You can open it up and look at stocks that have less. But basically, you can look at the total OI on the chain. You can look at the day over day change. And you can look at the percentage of that change on those contracts. You can look at calls. You can look at puts. You can sort by what had a bunch of puts came off of PDD, 16,000 of them. You can look at calls. Walmart looks like it dropped quite a few. Nvidia picked up 448,000 of them. Probably sold.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jensen's selling a bunch of stock too on that one.
Yeah. I shorted that today. Right it open.
Nice.
Yeah, I was very happy.
Good call.
So I guess is this to help us filter out the kind of the
shit stocks?
those pickers?
Shit
the
tickers.
stuff.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
trying-
this
I was
could help
trying to
you
be really-
filter out shit tickers. But no, this is really so you can see the changes in OI day over day on stocks and see where the market's got a lot of interest. We don't have like sector codes and shit like that yet, which was something we're going to be adding into like the market macro data, like the options macro stuff, later on, so you can see sector rotation and all of that. But this can also give you kind of an idea of that. Obviously like Plug, Mara, and Nvidia having a lot of OI change. You can look at like total OI, like IWM's got a lot of interest right now. VIX, QQQ, Tesla, TLT, Silver's way up there. Intel, Apple, FXI, GLD, AMD, IBIT. IBIT's kind of interesting. That's one that doesn't come up a lot. So yeah, I mean, this can give you a good idea of where OI is doing stuff.
Where it's doing stuff and kind of give us an idea of direction.
No, I don't think it gives you an idea of direction.
Just
But
interest.
Gork, calls
Yeah.
or puts.
No.
Calls or puts, Gherk.
They can never have it. Only I get the indicator. What? Because they can't know that all I have on my screen all day is just a little window where it says buy call, buy put, and it just flashes it. And they can't know that.
We'll just wait till we get the brain implant so we can just send electrical impulses straight into your amygdala.
Can we just make
Just get you
algorithmic
fucking
trading
hyped.
programs instead?
No, we're doing the brain implant, all right? It's the next step for your transcendence.
There is now no put call indicator, and there never will be. But yeah, it does help you see where interest is moving around and what stocks are picking up interest or showing new interest in and like obviously some more durable interest too, because these are your OI changes, not like gamma delta, your intraday shit. You're looking at, positioning that is coming into the chain. And then you can, go look. You can go look at the chain, obviously, if it'll load. And see where that OI is coming in and where it's shifting. But it does highlight where the majority of interest is in options markets. So that's important.
Thank you. No, that's helpful.
Yeah. Especially given that like Nvidia's got more fucking interest than SPX.
I thought, yeah, I feel offended by that.
Yeah.
It's un-American.
It really is, actually.
You know what? On the notional, though, doesn't shake a stick at SPX.
Wait, did Nitu just Irish goodbye us?
Yes.
What a
He's got shit to
motherfucker.
do.
Oh, that's bullshit.
That fuck.
No, it's not. It's fine. I like that he
Didn't have the common
moved-
decency
moved
for a
it
reach around.
moved it along. He asked his questions. He got his answers, like Ariel from The Little Mermaid.
Max Spires wants to know, can you walk through some tips on how you would use Gammastrike TM to enter and exit straddles and strangles? Yeah,
You
I
can't.
mean,
It's not a brokerage.
that's valid.
Get fucking wrecked.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I generally just look for like big positioning where I think there's going to be support and resistance. The exact shit that I outline in Pickles Picks every night, and then I just fucking close it at those levels. I mean, I've been telling you guys to do straddles. They're easy because they are. You can close, sometimes I close all of it, sometimes I close half of it. Just depends. Like this morning, I closed half of it before GDP. I closed all my calls, and then I closed all my puts later. I think I'm getting too caught up in the idea of both legs printing. Maybe. Kirk, stop telling them about the secret sauce. You mean closing the straddles at support and resistance? Oh,
Poppycock.
it's really hard.
That's what she said.
Yeah. It's so hard to just sit in a delta neutral position and wait for the price to be somewhere it's not currently. I don't know how I do it every day. It's actually boring me to death. I do need to mix it up and do something else. Next, we'll be telling them how to enter straddles just before close. Oh, you mean buying a put and call at the price that the market's at right before the end of the day?
Poppycock.
I asked a question, made a suggestion on Discord a couple hours ago. Mind digging into it a bit here? Where? Where? Did you, like, DM it to me or something? Oh! Are you talking about what you DM'd me? Gun? Hold on 1 second, Tense. I'll get to you. Yes, your platform's able to catch orders on the tick level. When it comes to futures trading, FX trading, the indicator I rely on the most is CVD. Since you already have tick data, do you think it would be practical to add a CVD page to spy your QQQ in the future? If you decide to get CME data, to have CVD data for that? Honestly, if you ever get Forex and futures data and had CVD, I'd probably main your platform for all my futures trading, assuming your data is globalized. It's not some random CFD. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, gross. How dare you?
It's cumulative.
How dare you
volume
even
delta.
suggest that we wouldn't try to build the best?
So, no, I don't think our platform would ever have CVD, to be honest. But wait, do you guys know what that is?
No.
So CVD is used on like CME because it's like cumulative volume of buy and sell orders at each price level.
Oh, is it those bubble things?
I've seen it displayed a bunch of different ways, actually.
Wait, so all it is just they accumulate, they just sum the total volume by level?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, I think, I might be wrong on this, but I think it's like the candle open value is the starting point of the calculation for the bar. And then, so it's always 0. And then the...
Yeah, I'd have to see it.
Yeah, I could show you the code for it. But it's basically like scanning volume and price action on bars.
Oh, is it just like
and it accumulates
volume versus
volume delta values.
like volume versus spot over time?
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It has like an anchor period, though. I don't think we'd ever do anything like that, to be honest. Not that I think like cumulative volume delta is bad. I just like I don't think it's very useful.
We'll come up with something better.
And it's probably really only good where you actually have like buy and sell volume, like FX or futures. I can't imagine that being very, very useful on like SPY or QQQ, where you have a naive assumption of bought sold. But yeah, I mean, basically, it's trying to tell you like when sellers are exhausted or sell pressure is absorbed, or buyers are exhausted, or buy pressure is absorbed.
Yeah, I mean, if they provide buy sell data, that's huge. Yeah, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I mean, well, every trade on ES is long or short. So
Oh shit.
yeah, you're either going long or you're going short.
Well, no, I mean, but does the exchange record that?
Yeah,
It says long or short.
yeah.
Well, shit. We need to get ES data.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, there's a lot
Wanna
of fun
pay for it,
stuff we can
J-Fresh?
do with CMA once we have it, but not yet. Still developing this as an options platform, but yeah, in the future, if we have CME, we'll probably have something similar to that. But I don't think I would directly use that calculation. I don't like the way cumulative volume delta is calculated personally, and haven't used it in several years. But I think I mean, just off the top of my head, I could think of better approaches to it.
Yeah, give me 3 weeks with it, and I'll do some wild things. I'm sure. I have a blast with bot sold. Oh my god.
That means my life's gonna fucking suck the moment you get it.
I thought you said you'd never get ES because it's too expensive. No, we're not getting it anytime soon.
Never. We never said never.
Never said never. It's in our timeline. It's just very far out. It's going to require that we have like significantly more users than we do now.
And a really solid lawyer or two.
Several solid lawyers, maybe a firm.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
also requires that we have more users than we do now.
Yeah. There's so much money involved in getting that set up, I'm sure.
The problem with do we need to shill more to get ES? Yeah, you need a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with like CME data is it's heavily regulated. And there's a lot of legal hurdles that we have to jump through and users have to jump through in order to gain access to that data. So we have to have like all of the legal shit for that data in place in order to pipe it to people. And it's quite a lot. You have to make it like I'm sure you guys have signed up for ES data before. You have to like make a declaration that you're not a professional and all of that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I'd love it. Don't get me wrong. I would love it.
There's just some
But-
good questions really around the edges. Makes me think that everybody understands our platform. That's a
Yeah.
good assumption, right?
Very safe.
Why is this chart so fucking big? What the fuck is going on with the IV page? This is not gonna stay like this. Don't some dumb skater. This is
some
is
stuff got pushed
temporary.
to I think some changes got pushed to prod from other environments.
That weren't supposed to be changed.
Maybe.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
still in flux. Because that page is getting.
But I'm
big-
glad that you like the broken chart. I'll make note of that.
Denslink is coming to whoop my ass about IV for puts and calls. I can feel it.
Oh, no.
I thought I answered that question already.
No, yeah.
We
I'm
all
not
did.
asking about IV or anything. So I have a question, and I think I know the answer, but I wanted to just verify. you said earlier on stream or whatever how you were using Vana to determine the bottom of the drop today.
Mhm.
And so I was just wondering if you could go into that a little bit, and if you could share any other tips or tricks for using the live GXS data intraday.
Well, the live GXS data is going to be getting an overhaul soon because this still runs on the older data, the older live data, which again isn't bad. It's just not as good. But you have to think. This goes back to like literally the last time me and you talked when you were up here last and had a question. You have to think about the change in market maker exposure relative to where you assume spot is going to go or be, right? And that's how I picked out, the 5880 support, 58, 88, 75, like our low support for the day. And that's because, things structurally are going to move. Like we were, when I talked about that, we were still trading above 5900. And so you have to think about like what is going to happen to Delta, what is going to happen to Gamma, how is Vana going to be affected if price moves down into that range, and then part of that is like understanding the Greeks and how they change with the move in moneyness, and part of that is like intuition built on that understanding. So like I can see like where the where the exposures would shift relative to the market moving into that range. And when we did fall, if you were watching like live Gamma, right? Like everyone was like, "Oh, how is 5900 not the support?" Because it really did look like it was. Oh man, we've got a lot of weird fucking changes that have gotten pushed to prod. Can we roll that shit back?
Oh.
Okay. Because it looks like a bunch of
yeah.
like dev shit got pushed or something. Like old stuff got pushed back. Oh wait, maybe I'm just because I'm not on RTD. Nope, never mind. I'm just a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that makes
Okay. I thought we'd made the same like UI changes to the old live data, but we hadn't. Yeah, so like 5900 looked like the biggest gamma next to spot, and then all the stuff out here looked much smaller. And I remember like Mongo Man, I think it was, asking me in the intraday, like, why are you saying that price? Like, why not the price at spot? Why not 90? Why not 5900? Because those both looked like far larger piles of gamma to the downside. But if I assume spot is going to be here, all of that gamma is going to change relative to the moneyness. Because remember, gamma is always highest at spot. And so, as we move down, you can see that like the positioning, like the gamma shifted. And then when we got down to like 90, all of the gamma was relatively equal. Like 85, 80, 75. They were all kind of equal and way larger than the gamma left back at 5900 because now that was out of the money. And so, yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking at when I identify like that, like out of the money support like that, is I'm taking into consideration, the shift in delta, where what gamma is going to look like with moneyness, negative like 0.004 or whatever.
Okay, my thought process was a little bit different. I was thinking when I was going on, like, oh, Vana seemed to be, with it being like, what is it, the shift in IV? I was thinking, like, I see a peak around where you mentioned, like, 80, and I thought, like, so at that point, IV is going to be decreasing, so that would be a good point to start selling puts. So it sounds like my intuition is still way, way off.
I mean, Vana's... Vana's the change in delta relative to the move and implied volatility. But yeah, that was 880 was also where Vana peaked to the downside. So like under 880, there wasn't going to be like more delta with increases in implied volatility.
Sorry, you cut out there at the end.
So under 880, you weren't going to get a lot more delta with increases in implied volatility. Because that's where the top of Vana was to the downside.
I think you're cutting out in weird spots. I think,
Am I?
unless it's.
Yeah?
How's your crisp?
I don't fucking know. It's not Crisp that's doing it. I'm on my desk microphone.
And does that have crisp on it? Are you getting too crispy?
I don't think I have Crisp turned on here.
I don't.
Maybe I'm just like too far from the mic or something. It's
don't know, do you
Discord
have a
because
gate
it's
on it?
both of you. Okay. All right, which part didn't you hear? Or like where did I cut off?
Basically, whenever you were saying 80, the words surrounding that.
Oh, okay. That's where the peak of Vana was. So if you were considering the increase in IV on the downside move, you know, the Vana exposure topped out at 880. And so any move below that would not have benefited from gains in delta due to increased implied volatility. Or, well, I mean, they would have, but less. Significantly less. Like, Vana fell off a cliff under 880.
Okay, yeah. Going back to what you were saying about predicting how gamma and delta will move and shift with respect to like where the price action goes, do you have any tips or tricks on making those predictions, how things are going to be shifting, since that, at least for me, seems to be a little bit of a weakness?
You need to understand unequivocally how Greeks work relative to spot, or you're not going to accurately make those predictions. So time to, I mean, yeah, you're gonna need to learn how the Greeks react to changes in moneyness. I think that's
I mean, that's the
like, I want to say there's an easy route to that. There isn't. Like, that's, you're talking about using this data at like its highest level. Oh man, I do see myself cutting out. That is so fucking weird. You're talking about using this data at kind of the highest possible level you can use it at, and that you're trying to not only perceive the spot market, but make assumptions about where the spot market is going to move. And in order to do that, you need A, time with the data set, and B, a deep knowledge of how positioning and dynamic hedging are going to change relative to movements in spot, and when that positioning is going to influence movements in spot. And to do that, you really need to know your shit.
yeah.
Like, I had
I
this
mean,
data for 2 years before and already had a lot of that understanding before I was comfortable making calls like that with that data.
Yeah, it's a lot of napkin calculus, so to speak.
Do you guys, I guess, two questions, I suppose. One, do you have any recommended sources to look at in order to build that intuition up? And I guess second, do you guys, for the documentation, plan to add any interactive graphs to kind of help people navigate how those sorts of flows would work in different circumstances?
Yes,
So-
they're in production.
Yeah,
In terms of things to give you better intuition, I mean, do you know what have you ever taken physics courses and know about like rates of change and that kind of stuff, like at a fairly decent level?
Yeah, I've taken those.
Yeah, so if you know, like the docs have the calculus expressions for each of the Greeks. Those are what you really want to be in tune with, right? And how those are described mathematically. That'll give you a better sense, right, of what you're really looking at when you look at like a Gex bar or something like that. It'll tell you like that tells you a lot of information. And understanding it mathematically will get you to the point where you can more intuitively get like as Gherkin is saying, when he says how moneyness affects a strike, he's talking about movements in spot, right? So yeah, that's definitely what you want to be looking at and trying to understand.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, I can't do that math in my head.
no,
You can't do it in your head.
Well, the very
but-
top line you can, because it's just a
So-
rate of change.
I mean, when he says like you need to know the math, like you don't have to like solve anything in your head. You just have to understand like the shapes of the functions and how those shapes change with changing conditions, and that's something that I'm working on, like giving people
Do you guys?
visuals of like how do these things in these quantities do they change when you change spot, or if you change volatility, or if you change expiration date, those kinds of things.
Do you guys remember when I used to like when positions would come in? Like I think this was like even pre Gammastrike. Like positions would come in, and I would try to like explain to you guys how that changed the effects of dynamic hedging around spot. Like we'd get some like big straddle, and I'd go like build it an option strat and show you guys like where spot was and where the changes in gamma occurred because that straddle was placed.
Was this back when we had that one script you'd have to run over and over again to get the data?
Yeah. It was. God, I hated that shit so much. I would always forget to update it.
Yeah. Me too. There'd just be this fat gap in the data.
Yeah, you would like disappear for 3 hours and there'd just be no data. But yeah, I mean, like, and so kind of intuitively understanding how moves and positioning change the shape of I don't want to say change the shape, how they affect what the market maker is doing and how the market maker has to hedge is really important for understanding how positioning influences the market. Even out of the money positioning influences the like market at spot. And so it doesn't, yeah, like Jay first said, it doesn't have to be like, oh, you need to do this calculation in your head. You just need to understand how the functions are plotted and how shifts in those plots are going to move the hedging around, because they create weight to one side or the other, and they can give you information about directionality.
So like, you could ask yourself a question in your head like there's some gamma $20 above spot on this strike, and it's kind of large. What's going to happen as spot moves towards it? The gamma is going to increase, right? And so just like kind of getting these intuitive understanding of how that chart's going to change as spot moves can be helpful. And so like so you might think, okay, well, another thing, if you're sitting on top of a bunch of positive gamma and you're right next to, just like the cliff of gamma neutral, And if you fall through it, you're going to keep falling. You're like, well, how far am I going to keep falling? You might think, okay, well, where's the next kind of big gamma bar? And you think, okay, well, as I go towards that bar is going to get larger, and that might be where I get pinned as it grows, as we get closer. So those kinds of things. That's an example. And then like with Vega, actually, this is, I don't know. I'm gonna pat myself on the back because I feel like my analysis wasn't just luck, even though it was a coin flip, and so I guess we'll never know. But I was looking at Nvidia right before earnings, and I was looking at the IV smile for the options expiring tomorrow, and I noticed that the smile looked absolutely ridiculous. It was like depressed. There was this weird kink in it, and it was super depressed with all the calls. And so that told me, okay, all the calls above spot are probably extremely heavily sold. So much so that it's like screwing up this entire curve and making it look ridiculous. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, what's going to happen after earnings? They're going to vol crush, right? And so you have all this sold delta sitting on top of the chain, and they're going to crush vol. And what's going to happen? Well, all of that sold delta, because vol crushes, is going to drop, which means the market maker is going to be sitting on too many short shares, and so they're going to have to buy to close. And so my thinking was, well, okay, if the market maker has that natural buying pressure baked in so long as NVIDIA doesn't completely shit the bed and prevent vol from crushing, then it should go up. And you could even look further. I didn't make this call, but I was just kind of thinking, okay, well, this depression in the call side IV goes up to around 150-ish or so. So probably get somewhere between halfway, spot and 150-ish, which is right around where it went. It's like 142, 145, something like that.
I mean, that's
Damn, your eye surgery is already working. That's amazing, Jay Fresh.
You did the exact the early analysis of why I shorted NVIDIA today, which was that I thought as soon as we get near those sold calls, they're going to sell a whole bunch more of those calls, and the MM is going to start dumping all the delta that they went long.
So then everybody's going to roll, right? And that's the weird thing with NVIDIA is that, well, with a lot of these stocks, is because there's so many there's so many cash flowing.
Yeah, you have a lot of weight behind all the movements.
Yeah, there's just a lot of natural call selling from other instruments as well on a lot of these names. And so, yeah, I mean, once the market maker stops buying, there's not necessarily any natural, buying power there. So you don't want to hold in there too long. Yeah, and then sure enough, it dropped.
And the IV curve that you were talking about for that specific strike, was that one of the tools that we have at the moment?
It will be available soon.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something.
Sorry, yeah, no,
I mean,
you're not.
you do have NVIDIA's weekly IV curve out here. Right. So yes, you can kind of see the kink he's talking about here.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but
yeah. But you do have this data. I mean, it's definitely not perfect. It's not how we want it displayed or represented, but it's there. NVIDIA is one of the stocks that we have live data for. So
awesome. Okay. Yeah,
but you will have a better representation of that as we move forward.
So that's a good example of the effect of Vana, right? Because I was thinking, okay, there's all this, most likely based on the IV curve, most likely there's a lot of calls that are sold. Oh, I also looked at the macro page because I know NVIDIA is always on the macro page. and I went down to see how much of the delta was calls versus puts, and I saw it was like almost all calls, and so I was like, okay, well, if vol crushes, the net effect is gonna be that it's gonna crush that call delta position primarily. And so I kind of just pieced that together. Okay, you're gonna have this because of Vana, and this massive move in volatility. I can predict that the market maker's gonna buy a bunch of calls after earnings, and that's exactly what happened. It's just not very often that is made so obvious by options pricing, but it was just so heavily weighted that it was
I
obvious.
think there's also something else that we can talk about with the IV curve now that you bring all this up, and that if you're looking at like IV at a couple of strikes, at the money, and you're looking at the variation between these strikes as price moves, Vega is directly tied to implied vol. So if you have a contract with 0.15 Vega and implied volatility goes up 1%, that contract is going to be worth like about 15 cents more. And so if you're looking at this, right, and you have like, say, this is like 59.95 and this is 6,000. And the IV from here to here goes from like 16.7 to like say 18.7 at the next strike up. On that test, like that contract, I mean, it's going to gain value from delta and stuff, but from like the Vega, you're going to get that like the Vega is going, like, you're going to get a 2% gain in implied volatility. So it's going to be like a Vega times 2 is going to be change in value of the contract relative for the change in IV. So that might be like another good way of like looking at or estimating like the price, like, and say you think that's going to be support, now the price where you can set like a buy stop. You do have to factor in your change in delta and stuff, but something to consider when you're looking to like set stops at resistance or like price your options relative to the change in positioning instead of just kind of being like, oh, this looks like a good place to sell it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do at the moment. So yeah, I'm looking at all these stuff, and I'm slowly developing an intuition, but it's a little bit more ad hoc than a defined quantitative, representation of how everything will be moving. So
You get better at that part. I mean, the more deeply you understand the Greeks and how they change, like on the academic side of it, and you understand, Black-Scholes and how the PDE works, and how that translates over to the first, second, third order derivatives, the more accurately you're going to be able to use that information. So I think both like a little bit on the academic side, and then also a little bit, teaching yourself how to use that actively in the market is gonna go a long way.
all right. So I look forward to the new docs whenever they end up getting released. Apart from that, are Gherk, is there like any? Have you seen like how people end up like using this tool for like the live XPX that you wish? I mean, apart from myself, that you would like people to change, or do you see them constantly like making mistakes, one way or the other, or are they like missing anything that?
I mean,
that's
most
on?
of my feedback is from here, and it's with like people are asking me how I do it, but I get I get shockingly little feedback about how other people are using it. And I know there's plenty of people that are using it to great success. I know some people are just, like longing and shorting flips. I know other people are trying to, play the implied volatilities. I know people who are trying to play, moves in delta. They're trying to play moves in gamma. But I mean, yeah, I really only know how I use it. I really don't get a lot of feedback on how other people are using it. That would actually, for everybody listening, that would be super awesome. If you guys want to, I don't know if you want to, obviously people are get weird and secretive about that kind of shit, but like, if you want to talk about like how you've used Gammastrike successfully, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, if you're secretive, that's fine. We get it. You're under no obligation to tell us, and we won't. We don't have an expectation that you would do that. But yeah, I mean, anytime we get comments from you guys, it usually bubbles up into pretty high level discussions that we have about our platform and things. And yeah, we care a lot. So if you tell us, we'll listen.
See, Pizzle says, I don't know differential calc, and now I know I will never be able to play here. Thanks for the past 4 years. See, we designed Gammastrike so that you don't need to know differential calc. We don't expect people to, even me and JFresh and Doric, like none of us are doing like live differential calc in our heads. Right?
No.
We just understand the output.
The top line.
Yeah, we understand the output of the differential, like the PDE. We know how options are priced, and we know what that output looks like, and we understand that output on the market. And that's what we're really trying to teach you guys in the docs, is how to interpret this stuff without being, a math professor.
Yeah, I mean,
or an engineer.
Like that analysis that I told you with NVIDIA, I didn't need to actually sit down and do any calculations at all. It was all just looking at the data.
Yeah.
And just sort of assessing, it's not really, maybe the math. I mean, the math helps communicate. If somebody speaks the math, because math is a language, it can be helpful in communicating complex processes, like he was discussing with flows and balancing flows and stuff. In the absence of that, I think this data is more kind of like a chess match, if anything, where the more you play with the rules and like how things work, the more you can see, like, instead of just thinking like, oh, these are the moves available to me right now, you can start thinking of, oh, well, if this move happens, that person, based on their current positioning, is likely to do these things. And so it's more of like a game. You're just like able to, just looking at the data, kind of get a feel for where are people's vulnerabilities, where are their strengths, what are they looking for, and how might they react to different types of events. You don't need a lot of math for that.
Yeah, like end of day, I
be perceptive.
Almost within 2 hours of every single close, somebody on stream is like, "Hey, Gherk, where's this gonna close?" And I would say like, this has not been calculated at all, but 70-80% of the time, I nail it within, like, I at least nail the range within a couple dollars. And as we get closer to close, I can
every time.
Yeah,
60% of the time it works every time.
But as we get closer to close, I can make the estimates of where the market is going to close for the day much more accurately. And within 15-20 minutes of close, like probably within a couple bucks. And there's, like, you don't think about it, but there's money to be made off of that understanding. Like, if you can just look at the lay of the land and the positioning and see where it's most beneficial for not only the market maker to close, but for the positions at spot, and the market maker, you can kind of find an equilibrium between those two. And you can like, I sold a shitload of butterflies at the end of the day today. Like, I think it was like on the last like 80 test. I just sold
I could see you getting
metric
excited.
fuck ton of like 20 wide butterflies at 59.05. And we landed like right in that range of profitability. It was off by like $6 off the center, but still profitable. Like I didn't have to be super accurate. I just had to be accurate enough to make money. So there's a lot of other ways of making money besides just going long and short. And you guys can use this data for that too.
Yeah, opportunities every day, even on just the index. The opportunities are not always going to be the same.
Well, as always, thank you guys so much for taking the time to speak with me. I always appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming up.
Coming on, bud.
Hope
Thanks,
you guys
Mel.
have a good one.
You too, dude.
You too. All right, now that Dork told everybody they need to know differential equations and calculus to be a trader, who has a question?
Also, game theory.
Yeah, I guess I threw in game theory there. Yeah.
Don't
Although
forget
everybody everybody's a
advanced
gamer. That's the
probability
thing, though.
modeling.
Is you can call it whatever you want, but everybody's a gamer.
That's true. Now that hedgies have messed with gamers.
Lost Your Gun says I mainly use it to check on charm to enter longer term positions and target based on the gamma curve. There you go. Yeah, that's one way.
Yeah.
I noticed when stocks go under DN, the gamma exposure gets really negative all around, like with Google. I was able to get a good put trade out of it before it dumped 10% in a day. Something I'd be interested in knowing is how to incorporate the convergence or divergence of the skew-adjusted delta and gamma and normal delta and gamma. Ooh, yeah. Well, skew-adjusted is trying to give you an idea of bought soldness of the options. So, you know, if skew-adjusted delta is rising, skew-adjusted gamma is a little weird, but if skew-adjusted delta is going up and moving positive, you know, it's becoming, more and more of the chain is becoming bought. Well, the assumption is that more and more of the chain is becoming bought. Obviously, it's not 100%.
It's a pretty good assumption.
Yeah, it's a very good assumption. But, I mean, we won't claim it's 100% accurate.
It's not 100%. Yeah, so
but it is.
It's supposed to be used primarily as a relative tool. So, you know, if it was low and now it's a lot higher, that means that the bullish sentiment is going up. People are buying calls, pushing up the IV.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the few places on the website we actually try to suss out bots sold. And you can, I mean, I think you can imagine why we're trying to put some of those tools in on the real-time data as well. But yeah, looking at the vol curve to us is very important for trying to get at least, so it's not an absolute measure. I can't tell you with any certainty whether the calls are 80% bought at this strike or 40% bought at this strike. Like, I can't do that. But what we can do is say there are a lot more bought at that strike than they were, you know, X minutes or days ago.
Yep.
And I think that that's valuable.
I do too. I love skew adjusted delta. I mean, most of the time I look at raw gamma exposure and I look at adjusted delta exposure. Occasionally I'll look at like the raw delta exposure if it's like a big move, but mostly I'm watching skew adjusted delta for longer term positions.
It's magical.
Yep. That shit flattens out. I close my calls.
It was one of the first things I built, I think, for us.
It was one of them, yeah.
Years ago.
Yep.
We have fucked with it since.
It's my baby.
Sometimes
we really haven't.
It's
good.
I mean, we changed like two. I think we changed 2 numbers.
We did. We tweaked some numbers, but
sometimes the SA
honestly though,
moves
like it's
in the
good.
opposite direction of the normal data. What does that mean? So you're saying like delta, like a total delta stays flat, but skew adjusted delta rises. I mean,
What,
means-
what was the question? Sorry.
like,
the IV curve changed.
yeah, that means that the IV's changing, but the probably spot isn't moving much. Or delta falls and SA rises. Remember that delta is inverse, so if delta gets more negative, that means there's more delta. So like if delta goes from like 100 million down, like negative 100 million down to negative 600 million, that's a massive increase in delta, not a decrease. I wonder if we should display it that way so people understand it better. I don't like that because it's wrong. But
Let me tell you,
I wonder how
Gherk,
confusing
the amount
that
of
is for people.
the amount of confusion I expressed when I was building it to JFresh was not small.
Just
Oh
because
my
of that
I just
negative.
wrapping my head around it was just like it melted my brain.
Just because of that -1.
Yeah. We literally ran around in circles chasing missing negatives. It was maddening, actually.
Yeah, JFresh wanted to kill me. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to kill Gherk because he was sitting there making me want to kill JFresh. Fun times. But I mean, basically, it just comes. It's a matter of perspective, right?
Yeah, it's a
That's really
change.
it.
It's a change in volatility that you're seeing, but not a lot of change in total delta. So very likely, if you're not seeing a lot of change in delta, spot's probably pretty flat. Not a lot of change in moneyness, but out of the money IV is probably continuing to rise. And so you're seeing skew adjusted delta move up because that's being adjusted for the implied volatilities. Sometimes, I mean, that one's always an interesting one to me. When SA delta moves up, but delta's flat, because frequently that's like a good long entry because people are still going long out of the money. It's just spot's not going up yet.
Yeah.
One can assume SA
Could
delta
go both
rising
ways.
means calls are bought, and this is the same true for SA gamma. And does this mean normal data is not as reliable? I'm gonna leave that one to JFresh.
What? Sorry, what was the first part of that
So
question?
if one can assume SA delta rising means the calls are bought, is the same true for SA gamma? And does this mean that the normal data is not as reliable?
Does this mean that the normal data is what?
Not as reliable.
Not as reliable. Yeah, so the first thing I'll say is skew adjusted delta has always made more intuitive sense to me in general. Skew adjusted gamma, to be honest, I haven't really spent a lot of time sitting with it and getting a lot of and intuiting a lot of things from that. And I think one of the reasons for that is because almost, I don't want to say by definition, but just in general, gamma tends to be positioned in places that are not super sensitive to volatility.
Yeah.
And so I would say that data set is definitely noisier than the skew adjusted delta, because going back to like understanding the Greeks, if delta is a first order Greek or first derivative of price, that effect is quite large. And then once you go down to gamma, that becomes a secondary effect. So now you're talking, a 10% type of effect. And then, the third orders are even lower. So like speed. And so delta is definitely the name of the game. and so that skew adjusted shows up quite nicely. There's definitely the gamma is noisier because it's a smaller effect, and because like I said, it tends to be concentrated in places where it's not super sensitive to far out of the money variations in IV. So the way when I look at it, just in my interpretation, I don't use it a ton, but first, looking at the total gamma can be helpful to get a sense of, like what is the interest on trying to push the stock around. And usually it's push it up. So if you look at, for example, like April 23, that kind of time period way back there, we just had like this surge in gamma, and at the same time we had this surge in delta. So positive surge in skew adjusted delta, and then negative surge in gamma, but that means that options are getting more bought. So that tells you, okay, those two pieces of data together tell you, oh well, delta's going more positive, and skew adjusted gamma is going more negative. So people are buying a bunch of calls.
Yeah.
And sure enough, just like kept grinding up. Then, interestingly enough, the regular gamma actually dipped negative, and that's when we started doing our little drawdown out through October. And at the same time, the negative delta kind of pulled up a little bit, which basically tells you, the negative gamma pulled up a little bit, which basically tells you that that people were selling their calls, basically. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it. I mean, like I said, to be honest, I don't use it a ton just because a lot of that signal is repetitive from just the delta signal. But it's
I used to short rises, like 2-day rises in like adjusted gamma. And it was decent. I mean, it was way better than 60%. Tricky to nail down the right amount of theta, and also, you've got to ensure that you have like a stop or a hedge, because that can reverse in one day really fast. But yeah, I mean, there were definitely like really obvious like trends in gamma with like skew adjusted gamma moving more positive that were I mean, good signals of when to take a short position.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see it actually. It showed up a little bit more clearly. Maybe a good example is like right at the start of this year.
Yeah.
So like, obviously Delta was still like popping around a lot, but Gamma started having like this concerted move upwards towards zero. So a move, down in size. There's less Gamma coming up on the chain, which is kind of telling you that positions are pulling away and the delta is kind of staying the same. So there's some evidence of options that are kind of out of the money but close to spot are kind of pulling away. And so a lot of the delta is still preserved and you couldn't really tell. And if you go to the macro chart, you can see that during that time, the leverage overall on puts was declining quite steadily from the start of the new year. Something changed, people who were selling puts, big people in that space, started taking less risk on that trade. And so all of those things kind of put together sort of signal that, hey, the bottom is kind of eroding from the market. And then, we chopped around for a while, and then somebody just sold like crazy in March, and then the rest is, the taco trade. What was the second?
There is
part
no
of that
delta
question?
max.
I completely forgot.
Yeah, there isn't. There is
Oh,
no
is
delta
the is
max.
it the- it's the- is it reliable? Is it less or more reliable? I think they're both reliable for what you're trying to do.
Yeah. So the non-skew adjusted delta, for example, that just tells you how much money is on the line. It doesn't tell you anything about positioning or anything like that, really.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
not.
tells you
It's not trying to do
how many
that.
It's a
people, how
measuring
many
tool.
people are, yeah, and you can see, like, at least for SPXW, I mean, basically, zero DTEs came on the scene, and we went from negative 260 billion to an average of 440 billion. So you can just imagine that a large fraction of that is just rolling 1 day rolling positions on zero DTEs. So that's what the non-skew adjusted value is good for doing, and then the skew adjusted is good for giving you a relative sense of bullishness or bearishness, basically. And it can be good. Another way to something that's been quite useful is if you look at the delta skew adjusted, for example, in SPXW, like when it tends to get pretty close to the DEX value, you're pretty close to some kind of bounce. Just from like that, because that's basically telling you that that's like max bear. Like
Yeah, it's concentration.
like you've like it's sort of analogous to like overbought or oversold.
There was that day the market crashed back on June 13th, where the skew adjusted delta went below.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. That shouldn't be possible, I don't think, but whatever.
No, it's ooh.
It's
I
close.
don't know.
We'll call it at.
All right.
Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so I mean, like
Don't yell at me, Dad.
whenever it gets pretty close to that line, it's basically telling you can't go like unless there's new positions that add on top of the existing positions on the chain in excess of fractions of a trillion of dollars. It's likely that it's going to reverse at least a little bit because you can't crank it past max bear, and that's what that line kind of represents.
God
So
damn it,
anytime we
Dork.
touch that line, actually, I might just start doing that. Anytime we touch that line, I'm just going to buy a call.
No,
my guinea pig,
you
Jay
create
Fresh.
you create
Don't
a
yell at me, Gherk.
synthetic long variant swap.
Or that, sure.
I swear,
Go
Gherk,
on.
if you
For
harp on me about this
2027.
one data point, I'm going to go to New York and
It's
start wandering the streets trying to find you.
it's 2. It's 2 data points, you son of a bitch.
It is too.
Jesus
fine.
Christ.
I think we actually had
How
like
many? 2,000?
I think we actually had fucked up data on those days because the market did actually like crash a little bit, but I can't remember. I feel like I remember
It's funny
us
how that
getting
works.
fucked on that day. Yeah, I love how all of the information seems to just go down when the market does anything too volatile and there's too much money to be made.
Yeah.
Yeah, that always seems to happen. Well, I think the reason for that is because volumes go up and it strains everybody's systems because they don't have a nuke.
It's true. You notice Nuke in chat, so you throw him some compliments. I like it. Well done.
I wasn't even looking at chat,
He's
but I'm
there.
glad he heard it.
He heard it. I wonder if he ever went back and listened to that stream where I just praised him for like 40 minutes. I did.
The classic praise and glaze.
I found the timestamp.
Nuke's BBC, ride or die.
Mm-hmm.
Bad boy club, baby.
He's going for the check marks.
138 through 143. I don't know why I remember.
do you have those numbers framed?
All right.
It's like that
almost midnight
Wolverine meme
Eastern.
where he's laying in bed.
We got any more
Yeah.
pressing questions?
We have one more that I kind of want to answer. I'm
Okay, go for
confused. How is GS Live helping narrow down the closing range in the last 15 to 30 minutes of the day? Ooh, this is fun. So everybody starts selling everything around spot. And price action generally gets tight. This is largely in positive gamma environments. Be very careful with this in negative gamma environments. But basically, all of the price action starts to get compressed into the end of the day, and unless a strike is like tripped, you'll just close where gamma's at its lowest point or highest point. Like where the has everything hedged, because anytime you test to the up or downside of that, like those positions will close, which just causes everything to mean revert back. So like that's what happened today. Like we moved up above like 59.10 a couple times, and then it just immediately dumped back to like 59.05. And I think we moved at one point, we moved down to like 5900. And then immediately bounced back to 59.05. And I know we closed the day like somewhere like right around here in like the last 1 minute, but and that's a little bit more variable. But basically everything up here and everything down here was just massively sold. And so any test of those outer bounds leads to people like taking profit on those out of the like those like actually fucked positions, which just causes price to move right back to where it started. And that's just like a compression you get with everybody selling everything on the chain, is that the standard deviation range as the day progresses just narrows. And Gammastrike does a pretty good job of showing you, at least on the
And
IV
now that
curve,
you've
where
given
that
away
is.
your alpha, it will no longer work.
Oh, it doesn't work anyway. It blows up all the time. Because because then what'll happen is like in the last 2 minutes, everybody and their mother will reposition something, and then we just squeeze $20 in an arbitrary direction.
Yeah, it's dangerous out there.
Yeah.
Last 15 minutes, man, it's a rush, but it's
Giving away the alpha that literally everyone in the market is using all at once.
Right.
right.
This is why I sell out of the money butterflies for like 98% credit. So I'll just sell like the upside and downside of where I think the market's going to close as a butterfly. And that way, if it actually closes in the middle, I just lose like $10. But if it closes here or here, I make like 500 and lose $10. $5.
All right. Well, should we talk about baby farms?
We could talk about baby farms. Let's talk about the
I'm
Gammastrike
down.
offices. Me and Dork have started sharing commercial real estate with each other.
Oh God, is it in Rochester?
No, his was in
No.
Nevada.
Yeah.
Nevada?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Why
had
do
a
you say it like that?
$50 million compound.
Yeah,
It seemed a
it was
bit.
a ranch.
Yeah, it seemed a bit lofty, but
All right.
Yeah.
well, we'll have to lay some fiber across the country.
You know? All I'm saying is the data centers, they're moving here. They're going to suck up all our water.
you don't
I mean,
have any
they're all
fucking
moving it.
water. You're in a desert.
They're all moving to Texas, man.
We're trying.
You know, why
We're
don't
trying
they just,
real hard
why
as
don't
a
they just
state.
try to capture the force of the hurricanes? This probably generate a ton of energy.
They're still trying to figure out how to nuke them.
All right. As long as there's room for the babies to grow, free range.
Yes, and nutrients to be dispersed.
I'm never spending any amount of time in Nevada if I can help it. It's the worst place.
You'll spend time at Lake Tahoe. It's great.
I
Yeah,
hate
it's a
Lake
beautiful-
Tahoe.
it's
There's
a
nothing to do
beautiful
there but
state.
cocaine.
The thing
Dude,
is that
Gherkin-
it's a beautiful state. It's just the people haven't done much for themselves there.
Just ignorant.
They don't have a great educational system unless you go to private school.
Oh my god.
Well, yeah, that's why you guys would fly in helicopters so you don't have to deal with Gen Pop.
No, those are my people. I want to go hang out at like the golden fucking nugget and just play penny slots with Sally while she goes on her 15-minute meth breaks.
Can
That's cool.
somebody-
Yeah, she's the loosest dealer in town.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hear me out. Can somebody do like a supercut to merge Donald Trump answering the question of how he feels about the taco trade with Eric Cartman from South Park singing taco, 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 taco?
Louv, you heard the man.
I think it would be absolutely hilarious.
My problem with the western part of the United States is everything is brown all the time.
Mm,
Or pine trees.
the color of poop.
Yeah.
You see the problem, dork.
I remember one
Like,
year
Gherk
it
doesn't
rained
like
in
colors of
California
nature. He
and they
likes
had
gray
grass.
and sad.
That's not true. I like green. The fuck's there's
you-
more green in New
I can
York
take you
City.
to. I can show you some serious green.
Yeah, I don't
okay?
want to go to fucking Sacramento.
And we can
though.
smoke. We can smoke it too. All right. No,
That's-
it's Sacramento. Screw Sacramento.
Take me to like the fucking Bay Area, Delta Valley.
No way, dude. No, I'm not taking you anywhere near that shit. No way.
That's
I'm taking
the
you somewhere deep in the cuts. That's where I'm
Deep-
taking you.
deep in the cuts. Some fucking
Yeah.
mountain covered in like half desiccated trees that are ready to light on fire at a moment's notice.
Yep, ding diddling ding town. It's beautiful.
Wait, is that an actual town?
No. Well, they call it Oregon House, but no.
That sounds like a hostel.
It's a place where like some houses only have phone lines running to them.
I can't believe they have that much infrastructure.
When you go through there, you're like, wow, people live here.
That's wild. What do you
Yeah.
feed
All right.
yourself in a town like that? Do they just have like a food
You
truck?
guys
that comes
can
up?
circle jerk to overpriced commercial real estate in Nevada. I
I'm
gotta,
out.
Fuck
Yeah, it's nasty. Now we need to.
you guys.
We're gonna move into Kenny's old mansion in Chicago.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe some of the success will rub off, or at
Or
least
just go to Jackson's Hole.
Dort can rub off in the bathrooms, and we can send
Oh, I'm
Kenny
doing that
pictures on
anyways.
Twitter.
I would love to go to Jackson Hole and just like, I don't know, just like bar crawl the
You just-
Jackson Hole event.
You just want to hang out with J-Pad, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to find Larry Summers and give him a piece
I
of
don't
my
think
mind.
he would enjoy. I don't think I would be an enjoyable person because I would be too snarky and I'd be too critical and I'd be. I don't think I could be. I don't think I could play nice.
I want you
very
to
long.
get drunk and just rant about the Phillips curve for like 4 hours.
Just like spitting in J Pal's face.
Yeah. Just like
Patting him on the back way too hard.
Like you go up on stage to do karaoke and it just turns into a 4-hour speech about the Phillips curve.
And I just start ranting about the Phillips curve.
Yeah. Oh wait, did I cut out again? Motherfucker.
You did.
You know what? Discord's just being a piece of shit. I'm over it. Let's
Yeah.
end this. It's like midnight.
Sounds good.
It's midnight my time. Yeah. Fuck all you guys.
All
See you
right.
tomorrow.
See ya.
Yep.
Later.
Thanks for having us.
Good night, guys.